Disclosure may just be narrative control. What if the most dangerous part of modern disclosure isn't what's being revealed, but where it trains us to look? Because disclosure, as it's being framed, doesn't ask humans to look inward. It asks them to look up, outward, away from themselves. Craft in the sky, biologics, origins, visitors, awe, wonder, spectacle, and almost no attention to the one place every serious government program quietly circles back to: the human interior. If the phenomenon doesn't travel through distance, but through state, through coherence, then controlling attention matters more than controlling information. A population in awe looks outward. A population in fear looks outward. A population waiting for answers stops building them internally. That isn't accidental, that's strategy. Disclosure, framed this way, keeps humanity fascinated, but unfortified, because once humans start asking what role consciousness plays, what coherence is, why encounters destabilize identity, why obsession follows contact, control collapses, so the narrative stays external. Craft mechanics, propulsion theories, exotic materials, timelines and star systems, safe topics, almost no discussion of psychological fragmentation, no discussion of entropy, no discussion of moral or spiritual alignment. Yet those effects appear, again and again, in encounter reports. That omission matters, because awe is not neutral. Awe opens people, and an open system without boundaries is not enlightened, it's exposed. The phenomenon doesn't need to lie outright. It only needs to keep humanity oriented, away from its own potential. Biblically, this isn't new. Deception never arrives as darkness. It arrives as light, as promise, as knowledge, and always with the same implication. You need something outside yourself to be complete. But contrast that with the message of Jesus Christ. He never points people outward for power. No spectacle, no technology, no intermediaries. Everything is internal. Clarity, discipline, alignment, authority through coherence. Even when confronting Legion, the account where he encounters a man overwhelmed by a collective destabilizing intelligence, there is no curiosity, no fascination, no interrogation, no attempt to learn its secrets. The presence identifies itself as many, acknowledges Christ's authority, and asks only one thing: permission to move. It is sent into a nearby herd of pigs, and immediately the animals rush downhill and plunge into the sea. The story lingers on that detail for a reason. The influence does not rise, it moves downward, toward chaos, toward loss of form, toward the depths. Because incoherent states cannot remain contained for long. They collapse systems. They seek environments that can absorb disorder. The ocean receives them, not as conquest, as containment. The pigs behave the way crowds do. Once coherence is lost, movement becomes contagious, and the whole group rushes together toward collapse. The story is not about spectacle, it is about boundaries. Jesus does not bargain, he does not extract knowledge, he does not explore the intelligence, he removes it. Because truth that preserves coherence does not require obsession, and anything that demands fascination is already pulling downward. Now zoom out. If you wanted to prepare a civilization for lower coherence influence, you wouldn't invade it. You would fragment attention, replace meaning with information, train awe without discernment, shift salvation narratives outward, normalize contact without integration. Modern disclosure does all of this. It trains humanity to watch, instead of become, to marvel, instead of stabilize. In that condition, no conquest is required. Access is volunteered. The real danger of the disclosure age isn't false information, it's misplaced focus. A humanity obsessed with what is visiting neglects what is forming, and coherence is not automatic. It must be cultivated, protected, defended internally. A species that abandons that work, even in the name of truth, has already surrendered its strongest defense. So understand this clearly. Disclosure can be revelation, or it can be narrative capture. It can free humanity, or it can keep humanity looking everywhere, except the one place that matters. Because the phenomenon does not fear our weapons. It does not fear our technology. It fears one thing: a human being who is internally ordered, sovereign, coherent, and unmoved by awe. That state cannot be manipulated, cannot be entered, cannot be occupied, and that is why, in the age of disclosure, the greatest act of self-preservation is not watching the skies, it is guarding the interior. If you found this video interesting, like, comment, and subscribe for more exploratory content.